Hey there, it's Paul, and in this video I'm going to cover how to calculate the order of arrival at scene. Basically, the order of arrival at scene is a 1, a 2, a 3, a 4, a 5, etc., up to, your greater alarm incidents, whatever. But a unit arrives in a certain order, and it's important when you're calculating effective response force response times and when you're looking at first unit response times, and sometimes your first unit is your effective response force, you really need to be able to separate out all the units that go to a call by their order on scene. So it's a pretty straightforward process, something that I struggled with for a long time until somebody straightened me out on this thing and showed me how easy it could be. It involves logic, a little if statement. It's a single if statement. It's not compound. And we've got other videos that cover how to use logic. So I'm not going to go into a lot of detail on the logic. But it's a categorical variable. So every record is going to have a 1, a 2, a 3, a 4, a 5, whatever. And it doesn't really matter where we put it in the data set. But I'm just going to put it here at column B. So I'm going to right click and insert a column here. And I'm going to call this order of arrival. Probably helps if I spell it right. Okay, order of arrival. And before we can establish the order of arrival at scene, we have to sort the data in a very specific order. And I covered this a little bit in the sorting tools, but what we're going to do is we're going to go up here to the icon for sorting multiple variables. And what we're going to do is we're going to put all the like incident numbers together. So here you can see in this dialog box that I already had incident numbers somehow set. But if I hadn't, the dialog box would look like this. And in the upper left-hand corner, I would just click on Add Level. And so I'm going to pull down this list and I'm going to say, give me all the incidents sorted by incident number. So we got all the incident number 3s together and all the 7s and 8s and 15s and so forth. And now, over here, this says A to Z on the right here, and that's because Excel is looking at these incident numbers over here as if they're text, because it's got that hyphen in it, and the hyphen in the incident number kind of makes it not be a number anymore, and instead makes Excel think it's text. It's not necessarily going to cause a problem in our operation. It's just something you should be aware of. Sometimes incident IDs show up this way. And in this case, it's probably a decent idea since the incident numbers start over at 3. They start over at 1 each year. So, these happen to start at 3, which means if we've got, multiple years of data, we could have multiple incident number 3s if we don't have the year embedded in the incident number. So we're going to tell Excel, go ahead and sort all this stuff. And we've covered this sort icon in other videos, so I'm not going to go into too much detail. We're going to add a level and we're going to say, okay, Excel, once you're done sorting this by incident number, sort it all by on-scene time. So that means take the first unit on scene on incident number 3 and put it first. Take the second unit on scene for incident number 3, put it second. And if there's a third unit on incident number 3, put it in the third position, and so forth and so on. And you can see down here on the right-hand side, it says oldest to newest. And you can change these if you want. But what this means, oldest to newest, basically Excel is looking at the on-scene time field and it's saying, okay, well, that's a date timestamp. So oldest to newest means farthest back in time, which essentially is great with us because that means first on scene, first, to last on scene. So we click OK, and Excel goes through and it sorts the data. Now, logically, the first unit on the first incident, this first record, belongs to the first unit to arrive on scene on that incident. And if we look at the data here, we look, okay, well, this incident number is the same as the one before it. So the way it's sorted, that means that this must be a 2. Now, it so happens, we look over here, this unit never arrived. But that's okay. It's still going to get an order of arrival at scene number, and we're just going to disregard those numbers when we look at records where no unit arrived on scene. So let's say the unit had arrived on scene and it arrived after the first unit, then obviously it would be number 2. Now we look over here at the incident number and we say, well, this is a new incident number. And so based on the way the data is sorted, the order of arrival at scene here must be 1, right? Now this is the next incident number in the same, next record in the same incident, so this must be a 2. And then this is a new incident number, so it must be a 1. and this is the same incident number, but it's the next record, so it must be a 2, and so forth and so on. And there's only like 35,000 of these, so we could just, we could get this done by next week. Or we can use a formula. So what we're going to do is we're going to delete this stuff. We're going to start out with a hard-coded 1, but then we're just going to use a little logic. And the little logic says equal sign if this incident number equals the incident number before it. Okay, so that's the test. Well, if that's the case, we know that the order of arrival at scene of this record should be whatever the one before it is plus 1. So if the one before it was the 10th engine to arrive on scene at a fire, and then there's another record under it, well, that would be the 11th unit, right? So it's going to be whatever the value is above it plus 1. Now, put in a comma, what do we do if we fail the test? And let me just reiterate, if this is new to you, you should probably go watch the video on logic statements and if functions. So if we fail the test, then that means this is a new incident number because A3 does not equal A2. And if it's a new incident number, then its order of arrival at scene, by virtue of the way we sorted the data, has to be 1. So we close the parentheses and we hit enter. And then all we have to do is autofill this formula. And boom, we're done. We got a bunch of 1s and 2s and 3s, and maybe there's a fire down here. So here's something, incident number 245. And well, we got 7 resources, and so engine, truck, chief, medic, right? But it looks like only 1 unit. If we look over here in column K, only 1 unit arrived on scene. The rest of them were canceled en route. But they still got orders of arrival at scene. And that's okay, because when we look at response times, they'll be ignored if there is no response time. So we scroll down a little bit. So here's another incident with a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and that's a engine, chief, medic, truck, and looks like these all arrived at scene. And looks like a patient went to the hospital. It was an MVA. So it looks like it works. If we look at the on-scene times over here in column K, kilo, it's 20:36:57, 20:37:37, 20:41:10, 20:41:40, 20:43:57, and 20:44:38. So it works. Now, there's a problem, and the problem is that these values only work if the data is sorted in this exact order. And if we get to a point with our data where we want to sort it differently because we want to do something else, and we will, then these numbers are going to cease to be valid because the data is going to be in a different order. So what we need to do is we need to do the copy paste special values function and overwrite all these hard-coded 1s and 2s and 3s, all these, formalized 1s, 2s, and 3s with hard-coded values. So we're just going to block column Bravo there, right-click, copy, and then right-click, paste special values on top of itself, hit enter, and now if you look in the formula bar, formulas are gone. The 1s and 2s and 3s, which are a matter of history, they happen, they're not going to unhappen, so that we don't need them to be formulas. And they're done. So there's going to be 2 more videos in this little series of assigning order of arrival at scene. The next 2 are going to be assigning order of arrival at scene by resource type, which is going to be, first engine, second engine, third engine, first truck, second truck, first chief, second chief, third chief, first medic, second medic, and so forth. And then the other video has to do with call processing times and how we establish how long it takes to get a resource out. So please do watch those. And if the logic was new to you and the cut, copy, and paste stuff was new to you and the sorting by multiple variables was new to you, then by all means go watch those videos as well. Thanks. See you on the next one.